Hello, everyone. In this video we will discuss the ribbon auto-breathing effects system. First, we must activate our auto-breathing system. Please enable the breathing option here. After enabling it, we can adjust these parameters. Then when we simulate, we will see some effects. For example, let's select the set and simulate it. Let's take a look. Now let's reduce the inertia a bit here. Set it to 0.7. It follows the basic animation motion. There is also a floating effect. Let's check out these parameters in detail. It still doesn't look very natural now. First we have the amplitude parameter. The amplitude is a relative value. It is based on the total length and its percentage. For example, if it is set to 2, it represents 20% of the length. It means the swing motion's amplitude will be in a range in 20% of its length. Like this. If you think it's too big, you can decrease it. Set it to 1, or maybe 1.5 is better. Then, this parameter represents its frequency. If we increase this value, the peaks and valleys will appear more frequently. Let's decrease it a bit. Let's give it a try. This value represents the speed of the floating effect. The larger the value, the faster it moves. For example, if I set it to 3, it will be faster. Let's compare it to the previous one. First, the amplitude is reduced. We decreased the frequency. There are fewer peaks and valleys. The speed is a bit faster. That's how it simulates. Of course, we have another feature. We can keyframe the intensity of breathing effect. Can turn it on and off smoothly. First we need to select the first joint on this simulating bone chain and click Sign Keyable button. It adds a property on the joint here. If the value is set to 1 by default, it allows to add the breathing effect. If it's set to 0, it won't allow the breathing to happen. For example, if I keyframe it, here I change it to 0. I keyframe it. For example, it takes effect slowly here. There will be a transition in between. Set it to 1, or maybe a larger value. It will simulate based on this parameter. Let's simulate it again. We can see in starting frames, it didn't have this floating effect. Later, it gradually added up. That's the usage of the breath switch value. Next, there's another feature, offset. If we simulate two ribbons with the same parameters, their dynamics result will be so similar. Adding this offset, we can make them look different. For example, let's simulate the two. The left ribbon's offset was 10. Let's set it to 20. Let's check it out. Although they are both floating, we can see that their floating result are different. It's an offset frame effect. There is another important topic. All the simulation result will be placed in an overlapper animation layer. When we don't need it, for example, I just don't want this specific bone result, we can just remove it by selection. If we don't want any of them, we can delete this entire animation layer. That should work. But to keyframe a frame at the beginning. Otherwise, the whole dynamic is transferred. These are some breathing effects of the ribbon system. We can also batch simulate multiple sets, and randomness parameters will take effect. Let's try it. Default speed is 1.5. Random range like 0.3. And if we don't want this keyframe anymore, we can just delete that parameter. Delete this attribute. Okay, let's do a batch simulation. Let's check. If we watch carefully, there are some differences between the two ribbons.